Hey there, everyone! Welcome back to our channel. I'm Alana, and I am going to tell you the 10 best states for homesteading in 2024. These states offer a variety of opportunities for those looking to live closer to the land, produce their own food, and build a sustainable lifestyle. So grab a cup of your favorite homegrown herbal tea, so let's dive right in. Okay, let's start with Michigan. Now, you might not expect it, but Michigan offers a bounty of natural choices for aspiring homesteaders. Imagine going just 5 miles without stumbling upon a farm stand or a local market bursting with fresh, homegrown produce. That's Michigan for you. Michigan had a lot of green food options, especially around Ann Arbor. There are a lot of homesteaders right now because the land is rich. It's a great spot to grow food during the short time of the year when that's possible. It's more than just Detroit and Flint. The Muslims really like it here. There is pretty cheap land up there, especially the farther out you go. You can make money in all 3 seasons. As you might have guessed, the winters here aren't great. Most of the time, homesteaders have to try not to lose anything during the cold waves. This is by far one of the best places to be if you want to catch a lot of trout and salmon. It will cost a little more to live here. Also keep in mind that Lake Michigan is always close by. Its ponds, creeks, rivers, and other bodies of water make it possible to fish for trout and salmon almost all year long. The state is also pretty strict about who can move in and other things. You should find out all the rules about farming before you decide to take the plunge. In terms of taxes, Michigan is about in the middle. They're not the worst, but they're also not the best. The next one is Missouri. The community is equally welcoming. It's so appealing is the cheap land, low taxes, and lack of building regulations. They're wonderful folks who are more than happy to share their homesteading knowledge. Also, the area around the Ozarks is so beautiful, and it's great for people who want to start their own farms. There are many good places to start a homestead in the Show Me State. Plus, this place has all 4 seasons, which is pretty cool. Sometimes the winters are pretty hard, but there are other places that have much worse winters. It rains about 40 inches a year, so the growing season is pretty long. It's easier to teach and given tax breaks for solar panels, which is good. Bad news is that Missouri has a high state income tax and expensive farming. It also gets a lot of storms, floods, and other natural disasters. The downside? Well, we did notice that natural food choices can be somewhat limited in certain areas. But that's where your own homestead comes into play. Growing your own food becomes more than a choice. It's a way of life. So after Missouri, our next is Virginia, where history and homesteading collide. It is beautiful, especially Western Virginia. The Shenandoah Valley is an absolute gem. The entire state, especially the western regions, is an ode to natural beauty. You'll be surrounded by lush landscapes, rolling hills, and historic homes that seem to whisper tales of the past. The land costs a little more up there, I think because it's close to Washington, D.C. Different parts of the state have different prices for land, but West Virginia does have some really cheap land. They weren't on the list though. No, not West Virginia. Like North Carolina, the rules about homeschooling are pretty strict, and the state is prone to natural disasters like hurricanes and floods. But a lot of rain falls there, the property tax is cheap, and the sales tax is moderate. There's also a scheme where you could, I guess, sell electricity back to the power company. You could do that if you had enough solar cells. Even though Virginia has problems with cost and other things, it is becoming a very common place for people to live on their own. Just south of Virginia, next is North Carolina. Unless you live here, you might not think of North Carolina as a farming state like Iowa, Nebraska, or Kansas. There are also a lot of homesteaders all over the state. The mountains are a homesteader's paradise, and here you'll find a large homesteading and homeschooling community, which that's a plus. The natural food movement is alive and well, with plenty of farm stands, farmers markets, and farm-to-table restaurants. People like to homestead here because the land is cheap, the homestead declaration refund on green energy is good, and the growing season lasts for a long time. The price of land here is pretty high. Well, the homeschool laws here are actually pretty ridiculous. Now, here's a surprise, Mississippi, that really came as a surprise. This state was completely off our radar until we experienced it firsthand. Its beauty is striking, from its lush landscapes to its southern hospitality. While Mississippi might not have been known as a top homesteading state, it has plenty of potential. Land prices are reasonable, and the sense of community is strong. We had no idea about that at all, not even thought about it. It's serious when it comes to southern kindness. Yes, when you live near a big city, real estate is pricey. Rain, it's just the way it is. And another thing that was a little hard about Mississippi was that it didn't seem to have a lot of fresh food. The only downside we noticed was that natural food options can be somewhat limited. But remember, the goal of homesteading is to grow your own food and become self-reliant. Moving on to the northeastern part of the United States, we find ourselves in New Hampshire. This state offers a unique blend of rural charm and modern convenience. Its quaint towns and vibrant farmers markets make it an attractive destination for homesteaders. The state's commitment to sustainability and self-reliance is evident in its local communities. Whether you're looking to explore lush forests, build your own homestead, or simply live closer to nature, New Hampshire has it all. While land prices can be on the higher side, the investment often pays off in the quality of life it offers. Next, we venture into the wild beauty of Alaska. If you've ever dreamt of off-the-grid homesteading, this is where you'll find it. For naturalists, Alaska will always be a great choice because the whole state seems to live by the motto of having a great relationship with nature and all that it presents. Alaska isn't just a state, it's a frontier. The vast wilderness, pristine landscapes, and abundant wildlife make it an off-the-grid paradise. If you're looking for solitude and self-sufficiency, Alaska has no shortage of opportunities. It's a very remote state where most people live either off their own land or in the water where they catch and sell fish. Winter isn't the best season, but I have to say that every other season is just right for you to do what you want. It's also a great choice to live without the power grid. Here, homesteaders master survival skills, from hunting and fishing to foraging and building in extreme conditions. From the wilderness of Alaska, we find ourselves in the heart of Tennessee. This state has a lot to offer, from fertile farmland to vibrant cities. The rolling hills provide ample space for homesteaders to establish their roots. Its rural areas are among the best in the world to launch a homesteading firm, even though the state's metropolitan areas might certainly be fantastic. Even in the midst of the severe winters and sweltering summers, you'll have an abundance of harvest every season. Additionally, you're saving a ton of money because the location has relatively cheap taxes and minimal property fees. There is really no reason why you shouldn't start up in Tennessee, when you also consider that you are permitted to collect rainwater at all times. The silver place goes to Vermont. Its quaint villages and lush green valleys make it a haven for homesteaders. The state's commitment to organic farming and sustainable living is evident in every corner. Its small population and rural character foster close-knit communities where strong connections and a sense of belonging flourish. The state's renowned farmers markets, farm-to-table restaurants, and vibrant local food movement ensure that your homestead's bounty finds appreciative tables. Vermont's unwavering support for homesteaders, diverse outdoor pursuits, and the perfect balance between rural living and urban access add to its allure. With a commitment to quality education, Vermont is a place where dreams of homesteading thrive. Also known for crafting artisanal products, from cheese and maple syrup to handcrafted goods. And coming at number 1 is Idaho. If you crave wide open spaces and a genuine connection to nature, the rugged beauty of Idaho won't disappoint. People, not just homesteaders, have been moving to the gem state at a faster rate over the last 10 years or so. Idaho offers a sense of freedom that's hard to find elsewhere. A lot of people say that Idaho has the best dirt in the country, and we're sure you already know what that reason is. Even if you don't believe in jokes, this is one of the best options because the land is so cheap and the area is so beautiful. Additionally, some of the best laws in the whole country. There are more than 60,000 homesteads in Idaho. This means that the area is full of people who share your interests, which is always good for business. A little over 16% of the people who live in Idaho work on farms. Idaho has a low cost of living, lots of tax breaks for green energy, cheap land, less strict rules on homeschooling, and no property taxes. But keep in mind that they sometimes have very harsh winters, floods, wildfires, and earthquakes, and their taxes are pretty high. As I already said, a lot of people moved in, which has caused land prices to rise steadily. There are also skiing, rafting, shooting, and fishing that you can do nearby if you're bored. It's been said before that Idaho is a great place to live. That's all for today. I hope you had fun and learned something from it. Please let us know where you think we'll end up by voting. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Okay guys, see you at the next one.